Hi guys, in this video we'll be looking at equivalent fraction, and we'll be learning that the same fractions of a quantity can be written in multiple different ways. So to start off with here, I've got a shape that's been split into quarters. So it's been split into 4 different parts. And I'm going to colour in 2 of those quarters. Now, it's perfectly acceptable to talk about 2 quarters. 2 quarters is a perfectly valid way of describing this shape. However, it's not the most simple way of describing this particular shape. And so what we're going to do is we're going to try and think about this in a more simplistic way. Now we can see that while the shape has been split up into 4 parts and there are 2 of those parts coloured in, we could describe it in a slightly different way, because we can see that although it's 2 quarters, it's also half of the shape. So half of the shape has actually been coloured in. If we take a half here, and I'll colour in half of this shape, we should be able to see, when I put them over each other, that they are actually equivalent to each other. So there is 2 quarters, there's a half. They're exactly the same amount of this shape. It is the same proportion of this shape. So if we, for instance, thought of this as being a cake, I know everyone likes the cake analogy. So if this was a piece of cake here, we could ask ourselves, well, what would I prefer to have? Would I prefer to have half of the cake? Or would I prefer to have 2 quarters of the cake? And the answer should be that you don't really prefer either of them. They are both equally as good an option as each other. So it doesn't matter whether you're getting a half or whether you're getting 2 quarters, you're still getting the same amount of that cake. So what we can tell here is that 2 quarters is equal to a half. So this is what's meant when we say equivalent fractions. It's when we take the same fraction of a shape, or the same fraction of a number, and write it or express it in different ways. We can take another couple of examples here. So down here, I've got sixths, and down here I've got eighths. I'll colour both of them in as well. So there's 3/6, and there's 4/8. And likewise, we should be able to see that these are also equivalent to a half. They are all equal to each other. Similar with the sixths here. 3/6 is equal to a half as well. So therefore, we can accurately say that a half is also equal to 2 quarters. It's also equal to 3/6. It's also equal to 4/8. It would even be equal to 5/10. And actually an infinite number of other fractions as well. There are an infinite number of ways of writing a half as different fractions. Now, here's a slightly different example. In this case, we have eighths. And I'm going to colour in 2 of those eighths. So 2/8 here is what we have. Now, to me, this fraction of the shape here looks kind of familiar. To me, that looks kind of similar to our quarter that we were looking at earlier. So if I pull out a quarter here, we should see that the 2/8 and 1/4 are actually identical. They are exactly the same as each other. So there's a quarter, there's 2/8. They are the same fraction. So we can easily say that 2/8 is the same as 1/4. In this next example, I've shaded in 8/20ths. 8/20ths. Now, I can compare this to 2 different fractions here. Here, we have tenths. And I can see that those 8/20ths are very similar looking to 4/10ths. So if I take my 4/10ths, I can see that they are the same as the 8/20ths. But it's also similar to 2 of these fifths. So we've got fifths here, and 2/5 is the same as 8/20ths. So we're starting to see that it can be equivalent in multiple different ways. We have 8/20ths, or 4/10ths, or 2/5ths. So what might be the point of equivalent fractions? Well, really, we want to be describing fractions in the simplest way possible. So when I hear something like 8/20ths, I personally find that quite hard to visualize. I need to visualize something that's been split into 20 parts, and then I need to try and picture 8 of those parts. Now that is a little bit hard to picture, okay? 4/10ths, well, that's a little bit easier. I'm imagining, you know, something split into 10 parts, and then we're talking about 4 of those parts. But by far the easiest way to describe this is 2/5ths, because it's the simplest way of expressing this fraction. It's the simplest way of describing this fraction. So we could go for something really complicated, like 8/20ths, or we could write it in the simplest possible form, such as 2/5ths. So in the next video, we'll be working out how we can go about simplifying fractions from something really complicated, like 8/20ths, all the way down to the simplest possible option, like 2/5ths. So that will be in the next video. But for this video, what we've learned already is that it is possible to write the same fractions in multiple different ways. So these fractions, although they're all divided a different way, they're all equivalent to each other. So if you were having, say, this proportion of cake, it would be just as fair as to have a half, 2/4, 3/6, or 4/8. Or if you were having 8/20ths of a cake, you should be just as happy if you were getting 4/10ths or 2/5ths, because it's all the same amount. It's all the same fraction of a shape, just written in different ways. Next time, we'll be looking how to write fractions as simply as possible.